We continue now with our special report on art theft. We just heard from the FBI, but sometimes, in fact oftentimes, it takes more than someone with a badge and a gun to get to the bottom of the case. In the movies, like the Thomas Crown Affair, art thieves are portrayed as cultured and debonair as they make off with priceless treasures. But we got a different take on that criminal industry from this man, Christopher Robinson, a former art dealer who now works as a lawyer, helping clients, including museums and collectors, recover stolen art or find out if they've been sold fakes. We talked with him at the Jill Newhouse Gallery in New York City. In the movies, we see Thomas Crown, the debonair, cultured art thief. Mm-hmm. Is that what art thieves are?
No, I don't think so. I think it's possible that from time to time there's one or two people who will commission a theft like that for those kinds of purposes. But for the most part, it's a way of making some money. And actually, it's a very bad way of making money because this is not a liquid asset.
We just heard from the head of the FBI art theft squad that they're still looking for the art stolen from the Gardner Museum. After almost 30 years, is it realistic to think that can ever be seen again?
I think so. I mean, there's no way of knowing for sure, but those paintings are so valuable that I really do feel that they will be found again. That one of the main issues, though, is in what condition. I suspect that they've been moved around a fair amount since the theft, and there's always a risk of damage to them over that period of time.
Can art that's well known to have been stolen, can it ever be sold? Is there a market for it?
Not a legitimate market. I mean, there's no way that could be sold at an auction or in a regular private way. I mean, I suspect that those paintings, if they do still exist, have passed hands as some form of collateral, either for arms, for money in some kind, money laundering of some kind, and that would be the normal way that would be used, because I think the understanding is that there's no way those works can exit into the legitimate market.
Is there a way that doesn't involve law enforcement to recover that kind of stolen art?
There are private companies that can work on this. I know that if you are a private individual and you've had a theft, there are companies that can work on this for you. K2 is one I know that does a lot of investigative work in this area. The Art Loss Register also, which has a very important database of lost works of art, can also will also take on an issue like this to try and find the works.
And what about the idea of a reward or a ransom? Is that helpful, or does it encourage future thefts?
No, I think a reward is helpful. The reward is going to be probably aimed at a minor player in all of this, for whom it's going to be a lot of money. And I don't think that those are the people who are going to be looking for that reward are not those that stole the work in the first place.
Here's a question from our executive producer, Rhonda Schwartz.
Chris, my question for you is about the stolen Gardner art. Where do you think it is? Do you think it's in the hands of some wealthy collector who's got it hidden away in his house, in his basement, who's secretly looking at it? Where do you think it is?
I don't think it's like that. I very, very much doubt it's on display anywhere to anybody. These paintings, I think, often end up getting packed up, buried, put in outside storehouses somewhere. It's possible it's in a free port somewhere. The free ports around the world are very little regulated, and it's very difficult sometimes to know what's in there. And those are secure ways of keeping art of this kind.
And how do you feel about it when you see that kind of art, cultural values and treasures stolen?
I think it's horrible. Obviously, anybody with a mind would think that that is a horrible thing to happen. These paintings are on public view for a reason. They're there for the public to enjoy. They're part of our cultural patrimony. And when they're stolen like that, especially if there's a risk that they're going to get damaged, it's a terrible thing.
Do you have clients who get offered this stolen art? And how do you make sure it's legit?
I hope I don't have clients who get offered this kind of art. I've never been told by them if they have. The way that a private client needs to do his due diligence to find out if a work is right or not, you start off with a very simple Google. You can contact some basic databases. The Art Loss Register, based in London, keeps a very good database of art that has been stolen around the world. You can inquire through Interpol as well. There are, and also the IFAR, the International Foundation for Art Research in New York, keeps good tabs on what work has been stolen.
So with the internet, it's even harder than ever to pass stolen art.
I think it's become almost impossible unless it's something relatively generic or minor, You might get a 19th century landscape or maybe an Italian old master painting by nobody in particular, and that's the kind of work that would be difficult to pin down because you may not have an author and you may not have an image that is very memorable.
But art still continues to be stolen.
It does. I mean, it's a great temptation, especially when you see the kinds of prices that art fetches at auction, $400 and something million for the Leonardo. It obviously is a great temptation.
Christopher Robinson, thank you very much.
You're welcome.